All right, so hello everyone. I am here today with Katy Whalen. I hope I'm saying that right.
Mhm.
The co-founder of
Yes.
Joy Women's Wellness. I have followed her on Instagram for some time, and her content resonates with what I talk about on my own social media. So we're connected today because I'm sure she feels the same way, but it's so super important to educate women about their hormones and teach them how they can feel their absolute best as they age. So thanks for joining me today, Katy.
Thank you so much. Awesome to be here.
All right, so we're going to jump right in. I'm going to let you share with the listeners your story. Like, what made you so passionate about women's health and hormones, and yeah, just give us a little insight into that.
Yeah, it was definitely based on my own journey, which I think is usually how it happens. But it started, there's a little backstory, and it started with me actually threatening my husband with divorce because he had a hormonal issue and we weren't understanding it at the time, but we were newly married and I was very focused on starting a family, and he had no sex drive, like none for a while.
That's very rare with men.
Yeah. And it was, I thought, of course, as a woman, I'm always thinking, and I'm too hard on myself. I'm like, oh, it's because I've gained weight, you don't find me attractive, but it really had nothing to do with me. We found out later, we had several miscarriages and a lot of stress in that, a lot of heartbreak. And we found out later that a man's hormones actually changes when a woman gets pregnant or loses the baby, all of it. So his hormones were affected by that, which caused, a ripple effect for our marriage. But it basically took him a couple of years to get it fixed because we didn't really understand the pathway to that healing. So he went to several doctors that were like, you're fine, you're on the low end of normal, all that kind of stuff. He finally did find someone to help him. And it really changed his life and our marriage. But he had been in healthcare all his career and just saw that as a huge opportunity. He's like, I'm going to help make this process easier for men. And so he started the men's side of our business first, which is called Blokes. And I wasn't really paying attention. I was still doing my, trying to get pregnant and start a family. So I wasn't thinking about women at all. And then, or the business at all. But after I had had several miscarriages, after I'd had all the IVFs, and then I had our two babies, that was like 6 years of my life where I wasn't focusing on myself at all. And after that was like, geez, like, what do I do now? Like, is this the new me? And like, who am I? And like, is this how it feels from now on? Because I feel awful. So I thankfully was able to get help pretty quickly from the men's side of our business. And then after I did that, I started working on my thyroid, worked on my hormones, and then started taking peptide therapy. And I was really, honestly, truly blown away because I had like a goal in mind, right? And I wasn't hard on myself. I'm like, I'm not going to have to be the person I was before. I don't have to fit into those jeans. But I got to a place where I just like, I didn't think I would get to. And I was like, wow, like this, I wouldn't have been there without this help. And so I felt like I knew I wanted to share it with my friends and my family and everyone, because I knew it was something that a lot of women didn't know about and could use some access to. So that's when we started the women's side.
Nice. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
find that a lot of women they don't know what to do. They don't have that, or they don't even realize what's going on or what's out there because they're just told, oh, you're just going through menopause, or it's just life. And it's like, I think that's so frustrating and defeating for women to hear that, because then you're like, so something wrong with me then?
Yeah. Or this is you want to have like a happy life, daily life, right? And it's just depressing to think like, this is what I have to deal with now. Like I remember thinking like, how am I ever going to go back to work? Because my brain fog was so intense. Like I felt like I couldn't have a normal conversation with people. Yeah. So I think I hear all the time that, oh, I'm just aging, or, oh, I'm a mom now. So you have these like, you let things slide. But I do think that's a very slippery slope, and it doesn't have to be that way.
Right, 100%. I mean, yeah, I think women just feel like they have to suffer alone. They have to just go through it, and they're afraid to speak out because they're afraid that somebody's going to judge them or be like, why can't you handle it? This is life. This is just, and again, yeah, it gets frustrating. What after all that happened with you, and you said, you had the brain fog and everything, were you like pushed into perimenopause, or was it just because of everything that you've been going through, like stress, just kind of like tanking everything in your system, do you feel?
Yeah, I think I was depleted. I mean, from all the, the miscarriages and the procedures and the hormone drugs and then having babies, I was probably like 60 pounds overweight. And so that like creates all these issues, right? So I knew that was first what needed to happen. But I got my blood drawn to also just go, what's going on? And my thyroid was a little bit slow, which is to be expected, right? At that point, after all that. And then my testosterone was really low. So that's one of the first things I started was testosterone, not knowing ever really about it before, or that, women needed it. But that was super helpful in giving me more motivation. And what was really fun for me was I'd always worked out. I love working out, love being active, but I started to see like little tiny results, like that I'd never really seen before, like some muscle lines and like just getting stronger, like lifting heavier weights. And that was really exciting. So it was pretty motivating to like keep going and do all those things. But testosterone also, I think, really helped me with my brain fog as well.
Interesting. So I assume you went through like testing and everything like most people
Yeah.
do, to figure all this out, and then went into the bioidenticals. Is that where you went
Yeah.
first? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what's your thoughts on those? I've tried them a little bit. I have clients that have tried them. I think they can definitely benefit women. So just kind of like, how do you feel about it?
Yeah. I mean, I know I'm very happy with what the testosterone's done for me. And then about 6 months later, I added in progesterone, the bioidentical progesterone capsule. And right away it helped because I was feeling super anxious, like just what's wrong with me? Why am I like extra worried about everything? Is it because I'm a mom now? I'm like constantly like freaking out about things, just not able to enjoy things like I used to. And then sleeping was really hard. So once I started the progesterone, I felt that like right away. I felt like that, whew, okay, I could sleep, I could relax. So those are the two things I'm on. I haven't tried estrogen yet. I don't think I need that at this point. I'm 44, so I'm sure pretty soon I will try it. But yeah, I think from all the research I've done now, I mean, after starting this, I've dove into the books and dove into the podcast, and we've got really great medical advisors too that have, I've talked to a lot, and we have meetings with and hear all their stories. I'm a huge believer that they do great things for a lot of people. And I know they're not for everyone, and everyone gets to choose their own path. And not everyone has the same experience on them, but in general, I'm a big believer that they can be, life-changing for some women.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And I assume that on the other end of that, it's all the other lifestyle changes too. Because I know there's some people like, well, this is how I feel and I just want to have a quick fix. I'm like, well, you can do bioidenticals, but if you don't change the way that you're living your life, you're probably not going to get the benefits out of it. There's a lot of key
course
that go into that whole thing, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, gosh, I live that day in and day out. I think I've noticed, especially, in my 40s, that things just don't work for me like they used to. Sadly, like I even hate saying it, like I've cut out caffeine because I just couldn't, it wasn't working for me. And then I've recently cut out alcohol as much as I can, and now I really try not to do that. Because I could just tell it, all those things were really not working for my body anymore. So I think the lifestyle piece is huge. We have to continue to like listen to what our body is telling us it needs and take better care of it. I certainly didn't take good care of my body when I was in my 20s or even 30s. So I've definitely switched that up now.
Yeah. Your story sounds very similar to mine. I didn't take care of it as you grew. And then I just turned 50 in September. And I'm postmenopausal. So I'm going through, I went through a whole bunch of stuff in my 40s where at the point where I didn't know, and that's why I'm on this journey and educating women, because I didn't know what was happening. I was kind of just falling apart. All these things were happening, and I was like, what is going on? Getting all my tests run and seeing that everything was tanked. But just learning that yeah, now I can't do caffeine anymore. The littlest amount will make me not sleep. I mean,
Yeah.
or it'll give me the jitters or give me more anxiety. And it's like, I already have that going on. I don't need more of that in my life. So,
I know.
um,
Ugh.
and the alcohol, it doesn't serve me. It doesn't make me feel good, and some people are just like, but I can't, I need my coffee. I need to have a drink at night. I'm like, you don't need it.
Mhm.
You want it. And
They're hard habits to break. God, so hard, those two.
it's a
Yeah.
choice. Yeah. But
It
I
is a
guess,
choice, but like, yeah, you get addicted easily, right? I mean, and we do think we need it because you are tired in the morning and you need that pick me up, or you are stressed and you want that thing at the end of the day to relax you. But yeah, if you can kick the habit, it's pretty cool.
and then that's where those lifestyle pieces come in too, is like good practices will help with the energy and the sleep and all that stuff. Yeah. When you
Yeah.
things out.
Oh
So,
yeah. I mean, working out feels so good too. You get the
mhm,
endorphins and it
mhm,
helps with the stress and the mental health. And it's so important. And I
yeah.
know you do sauna too. I
Mhm.
love a good sauna session, sweating, getting all
Yep.
that
Yeah.
toxins out. Yeah. I think this is the time now for us to really focus on our lifestyle and take good care of ourselves.
Well, and I have to say that probably the pandemic and all that just put a real big, it was hard for so many people. So many lives had to change and things had to be so different. And I think, again, as women who feel like we have to do all the things, we have to take care of all the people, we have to be on and can't say no, that I think there were so many things that were added um, in that
Yeah.
time. And I think we're still now seeing, I know I'm seeing in so many of my clients and women that I work with, that all the things that are still they're not able to rebuild, they're still stressed out, they don't feel good, they're tired all the time, and but they're still trying to keep going. So,
Yeah.
and I think that by what you said, the bioidenticals I think are a great thing. I do want to touch base too, because you did mention peptides. Mentioned it earlier, and we talked about it a little bit. I'm just curious how that kind of goes into play with like the bioidenticals or hormones or supporting women with their hormones.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely a separate category. We got into them because one of our co-founders, Dr. Folkers, had been, um, he comes from like a functional medicine background, and he's a doctor of chiropractic. So he's never been able to prescribe. And I think that's pushed him to be better in a way because he looks for more natural ways and looks at how the body works. And so he's been a big fan of peptides for a long time and kind of introduced them to us. And um, I think overall what they do is, obviously as we age and things start to shift, our hormones start to tank when we, go through perimenopause and menopause. What peptides do is just kind of enhance or help our cells function better. That kind of functionality that we're losing, they can kind of like put back in some of that functionality. So, we all have peptides running through our body, something like 7,000 of them. So, peptides, or you can target it at certain things. Like if you have a hair issue or a skin issue or a gut health issue, inflammation issue, there's peptides for weight loss, which are pretty heavy in the news right now.
Mhm.
So there's lots of different ways you can use them I think of them as a more holistic kind of therapy. And one of my favorites as an example is a growth hormone releasing peptide. It's not growth hormone, very important distinction. But what this does is tell your body to release more of its own growth hormone. And so what that does for us is, if you think about, our levels are at the highest when you're like middle school age. So you're sleeping deeper, you're recovering quicker, your skin is really firm, you have more energy, you're able to build lean muscle. So that's what our growth hormone does. So I love taking that one because I just feel like it gives me a little more energy and a little more vitality just in my day-to-day life. I feel like, I got off it for a month because I think it's good to cycle off and see how your body's reacting. And I could I couldn't work out as much because I was way more sore. So it's like those kind of things that it helps with.
All right. So I have two questions about that. For the first, because you hear about collagen peptides. Is it along the same lines? Because I don't know a lot about this. I've heard about it in products and stuff. But so collagen peptides, same thing as this or different?
Well, totally different. I mean, collagen peptides, the stuff that we're used to that you can put in your coffee or your shake. I mean, I do that too. And I think it's good. I mean, collagen in general is so important. But what all of our peptides are, doctor prescribed, so you need a prescription. They come from a compounding pharmacy. So they have, way more direct noticeable effects than like, supplementing with a protein powder.
Okay, that makes sense. And so then how are they administered? Is it pill? Is it injection? Like how?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of the above.
Okay.
There's injections, we have pills. There's the growth hormone that I mentioned comes in an injection, or it comes in a dissolvable troche that you put in your mouth and kind of dissolves into your cheek. There's nasal sprays. We have a really great nasal spray called C-Max, and that helps with brain fog. They're all like nootropic nasal sprays. I actually am testing, I call myself the chief peptide officer because I like to try all these things out, but we actually just, I'm trying out a nasal spray called it's oxytocin. So it's the love hormone. It's not really a peptide, but it just kind of lifts your mood and makes you feel a little more like lovey, which is kind of fun. Yeah. So there's also creams. There's a face cream that I use for my skin. That's copper peptide actually is what that's called. So there's all different ways to apply them or use them.
Interesting. Yeah, I haven't heard. Like I said, I've heard little bits and pieces here, but I've never really went into it to try and learn more. So that's interesting. So like if somebody so I'm guessing it's not like hormones when you have to be tested and know exactly what you should be giving when it comes to the bioidenticals. This is just something that you maybe talk about with them and find out what's going on and decide which one's option they need or they want, or how does that go about?
Yeah, it's a lot more symptom based, like what's going on. So, there's this gut health one that we put a lot of people on if they have like IBS, or there's a peptide to help with, SIBO, those kind of things. Or if you're having if you just have a soft tissue injury, there's a peptide for that. So just kind of depends on what's going on. Or if you just want overall energy, there's that too. So, yeah, certainly don't need lab testing for most of these. But we do love, lab testing in general, just to see what's going on.
Right. I love that. Yeah, that's cool. And this all stuff intrigues me. I love learning these new things and anything that's natural and can help support. Like I said, I'm 50 and being postmenopausal doesn't mean that everything is wonderful. So I still have all the things going on that everybody else does, and so any little boost and every little energy boost and things like that is definitely
yeah. Have you heard of, I'm sure you've heard of NAD. That's not a peptide. It's like a molecule or coenzyme, but have you heard of that? I do a lot of that too. We do those in injections, and that kind of helps with overall like ATP energy production and helps convert your food to energy. So that's like a nice one once a week that I find is helpful for just energy.
nice. I think that's most of us women need the most is energy, right? Especially throughout the day.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, for sure. All right, I'm gonna go back a little bit more to hormones. I appreciate all that because, like I said, I've heard about it a little bit, but I love learning more about it as well. So some of the top three things that I find that women struggle with the most when they're perimenopausal and menopausal is like weight loss resistance. I think you talked a little bit about something in that, and I want to touch base with as well. Insomnia, hot flashes. Those are the three top things. Do you find that to be true with clients that you work with or that come into your clinic as well?
Yeah, for sure. The weight, it's like the same things. Yeah. All this, I'm doing the same things. Why is the weight coming on? Yeah. I can't sleep. I'm anxious. Yeah. Hot flashes. I mean, very common. I think most women, I think they do say something like a third of women, pretty much skate through perimenopause and menopause. Have you heard that?
I've had like every once in a while, a client tells me like, "Oh, I went through it with ease." I'm like, "How?"
You're like, "Good for you." Okay. See you later.
Yeah. I know. Yeah.
So there are some women that are lucky, but in general, yeah, that seems pretty common. And, actually I need to find this study because I was looking at this study that I just saw recently that that are women in their 40s get on antidepressants at like double the amount of women on their 20s or something. So it's really a time when we're like, all the things, and sleep is a big part of that. But I think, you know, I've seen it for myself. Like, that's your progesterone, and being able to try that to see if that works for you instead of an antidepressant or instead of a sleeping pill. I think it's a much better way to go if it works for you. And then,
Right.
I mean, the weight gain. Yeah. I think when our estrogen goes, our body knows it's going, and it tries to hold on to it, and that stores it around the middle pretty easily. And estrogen also really helps with our stress response. And so when we don't have that to rely on, then we have to rely on cortisol more, which, packs on the pounds as well, because it hurts our insulin sensitivity. And I agree with you. You said that the pandemic really was tough and still is tough. Like, I feel that. I feel like, shouldn't I be over it by now? But I kind of feel like I still have like PTSD or something, like where I'm not the same from it. And so, like, I think I can tell, like, it's managing my cortisol, managing my stress, is something that I have to constantly work on, because that kind of messes up our system and doesn't help with our weight. That's for sure.
Right. Right. Yeah. I agree so much. So much. So if you were to walk me through, like, what would a journey, if a woman came to you, they came to you, this is going on, how do you go about that, the steps, working with them to get them to feel their ultimate best and to educate them about what is actually going on, and then what your plans are, what the tools are they have to help them to feel better?
Yeah. I mean, we try to do a lot of, interesting, like, educational stuff on like social, on Instagram, when you're talking about, for instance, what is perimenopause? Because like, there's just a lot of people that don't, like, we've never got a memo. Like, what is that? What's happening during menopause? Like, people don't know. So we try to do that. And then, to work with someone individually, we have them sign up, fill out the health history form, which kind of gives us a snapshot. And then we really think labs are a great tool. So we have some comprehensive labs. We make that pretty easy. You can go into a LabCorp, or we can actually send someone to your home. And we run, I think our lowest panel is something like 48 markers. So we can really see a lot, all your hormones, your thyroid, metabolic health, vitamins and minerals. Like, you could be just low in something that you could supplement with pretty easily. And then we talk about what's going on and symptoms, and that obviously informs the, providers a lot of like what's happening and what could be a possible, workaround or therapy or supplementation or something like that. So, that's it. From there, we kind of come up with the plan, and then any therapies, we just, get them, we prescribe them to a compounding pharmacy, and then shipped right to your door.
Perfect. Awesome. That's great. So
Yeah.
do you work with people like virtually, or is it usually just all, because you said you're in Nashville? So do you just work with people in the surrounding area, or is it?
No, we do all 50 states. I mean, we started this when we were going through this whole thing. We had my husband had 4 brick and mortar regenerative medicine clinics, and they got shut down right away by COVID. So once this kind of idea was on his radar, we thought telehealth was the way to go, and we thought it would be easy. It is not easy. Yeah. There's a lot of hoops to jump through and a lot of regulations, but and a lot of tech stuff that's way over my head. But yeah, we do it all virtually, and do it all on Zoom like this.
That's amazing. I love that. And that's what I think is super important too, is that, same way I'm able to work with anybody anywhere because of this. And maybe that, I should say, is that a good thing that came out of the pandemic, that we can help many more women across the world, more people. Yes, I guess that's a positive thing, even though we didn't want to have to go through that to get here, but I think that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, there are some positives.
Right. So if let's say you wanted to share one thing with a woman who is perimenopausal and just struggling to get her life back, like what would you want to share with her? What would you want to tell her to kind of ease her mind and let her know that she can feel better. She can get to where she wants to be.
Yeah. I mean, I guess one thing I would say is maybe find a community or some support, because there are a lot out there, because there's a lot of other women that have gone through this and feel this way. And I think you really have to put in a little bit of work and say, okay, I'm going to feel better. And to get there, I've got to figure out a plan, and I can get some help and support to figure out what that looks like by people who've been through it or know what they're talking about. But I'm going to take care of myself instead of just, being upset and being a victim and letting my life kind of pass itself by. Right.
Right. I think sometimes that's the hardest for women, is taking that first step.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I know I need to do something, but they don't know how to do it, or they're just afraid to do it, or they're just not ready to do it. But
yeah, because it's weird, because change is scary, even if it's maybe a good change, right? And that's hard to understand, but there are definitely things that you can do, and it could be free things, like free lifestyle things, or it could be, just connecting with people so that you're not crazy. Other women are going through it, but there's tons of options, and you just got to figure out what works for you.
Right. Yes, I love that. All right. Well, is there anything else that you want to share with my listeners at this time?
No, I mean, just thank you for having me on. This is great. It was awesome to meet you and talk with you.
Yes, I love this. Like I said, I love talking with other people, other women who want to like educate women, because I just feel like that's the most important part, is women just don't know. They don't know
Right.
what's happening. They don't know why it's happening, and they don't know what to do to get there. And
Yeah.
it's important to make sure that we're letting them know.
Yeah. I mean, I will say one other thing. When I think it's confusing out there, because it's just not a subject that many people are educated on. And so, if a woman goes, I don't feel good, and then they go to their gynecologist, for instance, like only 1 in 5 gynecologists have actually had training on menopause and hormones. So in that way, it can be a little bit, off-putting when you're like, well, where do I find some, actual help with it? So I think you got to that's maybe one of the harder things, is searching a little bit harder to find your group and your community.
Right. And find somebody that you connect with, that you resonate with, that feels like is in your corner, instead of just kind of pushing you off to the side.
Yeah.
Saying, you're fine. You'll get through this. No,
Yeah, you're tough.
No, listen to your body, listen to your head, and just keep pushing forward to get answers. That's what I keep telling women.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you would share with my listeners where they can find you, learn more about you, go ahead and do that.
Yeah. I'm always on Instagram. It seems to be my, I don't know what you call it, devil of choice.
Yeah.
But we are Joy, Joi, and it's Joy Women's Wellness on Instagram. And then our website is choosejoy.co.
I love it. And I will put that in the show notes as well. So if anybody wants to reach out or touch base with you or ask you any further questions about everything that you shared with us today, they can do that.
Please do. Awesome.
And thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Thank you. Have a good weekend.
You too. Thank you. Bye.